Change your minds, National, and get behind this amendment today.
I call Todd McLean.
Mr Chairman, thank you very much. I want to take a fairly brief call on this because there are so many other members who too would like to speak on this bill. I do so because I think this is an extremely important piece of legislation. A previous speaker from somewhere in the Waikato, not Hamilton, Ms Moroney, said this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, it's not, actually. Any parliament could make changes, and if we look back, many parliaments have spoken about it. But we do have important reason to try and get this right. I want to talk about personal responsibility and the tools that this legislation will offer parents and communities. Because in my electorate of Rotorua over the last 3 years or so, I've consulted by way of survey and public meeting and received feedback from more than 4,000 voters, mums and dads, individuals, people below the drinking age of 18 and above, who have expressed their concern to me about the harm that alcohol is doing in so many parts of our community. And one theme that came up again and again was the provision of alcohol to those under the legal age by which you can purchase, and in this case we know because of a previous decision of the House that will be 18. You see, Mr Speaker, I'm a father of 4 children. My wife and I have 4 children, and it won't be long until they get close to the age of 18. In fact, my eldest son is 14. So he's starting to get in that period of his life when there will be pressures around him towards alcohol. And I believe firmly it is the responsibility of my wife and I to raise him in such a way that he has the tools to make the very best decisions that he can around the consumption of alcohol. And it is irresponsible for others to provide alcohol to that boy, and I use the word boy intentionally, until he is 18 years of age without the permission of my wife or I. And indeed, that's something that I would be upset about if it happened. I have a daughter who is now 8, and so she's 10 years away from us having to deal with her ability to purchase alcohol in New Zealand. By the way, Mr Speaker, Mr Chairman, I voted for the age to go up because of the harm I've seen in my community that's done to those around the age of 18 and younger than 18 when they consume alcohol. And I don't think it's correct in this country that if my daughter had a boyfriend who was over the age of 18, that he could provide her with alcohol without any question at all about what my wife or I wanted. So I'm glad that this legislation gives a tool to parents to meet their obligation to young people in this country and to have a greater say around consent when it comes to alcohol being provided to them. Sadly, Mr Speaker, there are far too many parents that don't take their responsibility seriously, as I believe my wife and I will. And we had a very sad incident a year or so ago in Rotorua where 2 lives were ruined. A 14-year-old boy at 2 o'clock in the morning was killed in our streets by his 12-year-old friend. And a member of their family had been providing alcohol to these 2 young children for the whole of the night. And the newspaper suggested that this adult got in the car to go and buy more alcohol and bring it back to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. So I'm glad that in this case, the law, when it passes, will stand up for those 2 young people and say that if you have the permission of a parent or guardian to provide alcohol to a person under the age of 18, you must do so responsibly or you have broken the law. Because in this case, Mr Speaker, the 12-year-old boy was so drunk that when his friend went to take a kitchen knife off him because he was threatening himself, he lashed out and he cut the 14-year-old boy, and he bled to death on the streets of Rotorua in front of his house. And that's a sad, sad occasion. Those are 2 lives that have been ruined and lost. The boy, of course, that was killed, but the 12-year-old that will now have to go through and live with that for the whole of his life. And a 12-year-old does not have the tools or ability to make the decisions about many things, let alone alcohol consumption. And that's why I say that I think there are so many people in our society that don't take their responsibilities as seriously as my wife and I do. I'm not passing judgment on them. I'm saying that we need to get this right, Mr Chairman, because lives are lost and lives are ruined and young people are harmed. The final thing I want to speak on is the tools we're going to give to communities around local alcohol policies. I'm glad this is happening, and I hope all parts of this House will support it. And the reason for that is our communities are calling for greater control So there we go with the opposition members think they know what's best. Well, let's not get into their records. How about we do a little bit of listening, because our communities...
I call Kevin Haig.
Interesting contribution, though, that was from Todd McClay. It didn't relate at all to the